Hello, welcome to Old Nerd Reads His Marvel Comics in Order. This is episode 10, and in this episode, I read Fantastic Four 158, 159. It's a two-part story involving the Inhumans and a villain named Zemu. Pretty cool design. That's a great cover right there. This is a great Rich Buckler cover. Very good Fantastic Four cover. Interesting thing about this story is it was originally supposed to appear as a giant size Fantastic Four. It was supposed to be in giant size Fantastic Four number 5, which would have come out around this time or shortly thereafter. Um, it was held up by Rich Buckler. Rich Buckler had some kind of issue where he couldn't finish drawing it in time. So what they did was they extended it. They took the pages that he had finished and put them in issue 158, which gave them enough time to finish it up in issue 159. And they bumped the story ahead, the next story arc ahead by these two issues, which were originally supposed to be Giant Size Fantastic Four number 5. Giant Size Fantastic Four number 5 ended up being a reprint of an older Stan Lee and Jack Kirby story. But these two issues, basically, Zemu comes from the fifth dimension, and that's the funny title. Invasion from the fifth, count it, fifth dimension. Like it's a big joke, I guess. Back then it was probably, corny Marvel humor. We love it though. This Zemu character comes from that dimension, the fifth dimension, and he has this weapon. It's a horn. It's a giant horn, and he captures Black Bolt of the Inhumans. He's gonna have Black Bolt, since Black Bolt has anytime Black Bolt talks, he levels mountains. The sound of his voice is that powerful, so he never talks because he could kill everything and everyone. But this Zemu guy wants Black Bolt to speak through his thunder horn, and that will just annihilate everything. It just destroys the mountain all by him yelling. Zemo shouts a single shriek syllable and destroys a mountain. So if Black Bolt were to talk through it, it would be 100 times more powerful. So that's his whole deal. He sends Quicksilver to the Fantastic Four's headquarters to get Medusa and bring her back, because Medusa is Black Bolt's wife. And if Zemu has Medusa if he captures Medusa, he can force Black Bolt to speak through the Thunderhorn. And so the Fantastic Four come running, and it's a team up between the Fantastic Four and the Inhumans. And of course, they beat Zemu. But what this story arc is famous for is Sue Richards had not been in the Fantastic Four for several years. After she got pregnant, Reed made her quit, and she had to basically stay home and take care of baby Franklin. And I guess there was several years where Medusa was the fourth member of the Fantastic Four, but this story arc, she returns to the Inhumans, and Sue returns to the Fantastic Four. Also, Johnny Storm, who'd been wearing like a red costume, he in this issue, he goes back to his original blue costume, so everybody matches again. But this issue, this copy is really nice, really solid. This is probably like a very fine copy. The pages hardly have faded. They're still mostly white. It feels like a new comic. It doesn't feel like it's deteriorated at all. Very good copy. There's Johnny Storm's red costume, and by the end of it, he makes the switch back to his classic blue costume. And Sue rejoins the Fantastic Four, and Medusa stays with the Inhumans. And that's the end of that one. But the interesting thing about this is I'd never realized this And I vaguely remember seeing this in the long boxes and comic shops and Comic Cons and flea markets. A Human Torch series from like 1974. This storyline references that series. The Human Torch series only lasted maybe 8 issues, but looking at the credits on it, it looks like it's Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And at this point, Stan Lee wasn't writing comics anymore, and Jack Kirby was working for DC at this point. So they must be reprints. The source I looked at didn't say anything about them being reprints. And like I said, this issue references like issue number 6 of the Human Torch, which had come out just right around this time. So I don't know what it is. If it's brand new stories or if it's reprints, I have no idea. I vaguely remember seeing it maybe once or twice. You hardly ever see it. Like I didn't even know it existed, basically. But that's interesting. I'll have to look into that some more and find out more about it. But anyway, after this, the next series, the next comic that I have to read in order is Fantastic Four 160, immediately following this. This is the beginning of a 4-issue arc with all kinds of multiverse events happening. Basically each member ends up going on a solo adventure into some different reality, different dimension, and end up taking on alternate versions of the Fantastic Four. So this is going to be a fun one, I think. That'll be the next arc. Now, during that arc, I will finally be mixing in some other titles that come out at the same time as those 4 issues. Issue 162 of the Fantastic Four coincides with issue 36 of Marvel Team Up. They both come out in September of 75, so I'll be reading 2 issues for that. I'll be reading the Fantastic Four issue and the Marvel Team Up issue. I also have 37, so I'll be reading those 2 issues of Marvel Team Up along with the Fantastic Four, and the last issue of Fantastic Four comes in October of 75. This issue, 163. That's the 4th issue of this story arc that I'm moving on to after reading these. So the 4th issue, issue 163, is October of 75, which is also Marvel Premiere number 25, the Iron Fist. This is when Iron Fist was in this title, and this is actually, I think, the last issue that Iron Fist is in this title. And the reason that I got this one is because this one is actually, I believe, penciled by John Byrne. And most of my collection back in the day, I tried to get everything that was penciled by John Byrne that he did for Marvel. I tried to. Like, some of this stuff's too expensive and I don't have it yet, but maybe someday. But I believe that's why I have this. I believe this is written by Chris Claremont and penciled by John Byrne. There'd been several issues before this, but they weren't penciled by Byrne, so I don't have them. But then this, like I say, is the last issue with Iron Fist, and then it transitions to Iron Fist number 1, which is Chris Claremont and John Byrne again. This is right before they worked on X-Men together, and kind of their first foray as a writer-artist team. So this will be November of 75. So that'll be in the next. I don't know how I'm going to break this up actually, but we'll see. We'll see how I break this up anyway. But so those are all the comics I'll be reading in the next video or videos. I'm not sure I'll break it up yet. Also, I just made a discovery which blew my mind. I didn't realize this, but I kind of knew, I guess, because when you read the letters pages in these old, or when you read Stan's Soapbox and the bullpen bulletins pages in these older books, you find out that they're putting out a bunch of giant size comics, and I didn't realize that giant size were not annuals. I just figured giant size became annuals after a while. Like, they just quit calling them giant size and refer to them as annuals. Not true. There was several giant size Fantastic Fours in 74 and 75. They basically came out bi-monthly. So this is not an annual. This is a bi-monthly supersized issue. Now, if you remember, this was the subject of a couple videos ago, this issue. I thought I had issue 4, but I do not. And that's a really popular issue. That's Madrox, I think. Jamie Madrox, like Professor Xavier's son, I think, is in that issue. And it's kind of expensive. So I'm going to see if I can track that one down. That's been on my list to get. I don't think I've gotten that yet. I believe that's still something I'm looking for. But yeah, so I realized I made a mistake, and it was a mistake I knew I was going to make. This is an annual. Marvel Comics Group special issue, king size, Fantastic Four king size. This is what became annuals. This is an annual. This is the 73 issue of Fantastic Four king size, which became annuals eventually. So this predates even the Captain America that I started off this Marvel Old Nerd Reads his Marvel Comics in Order series with. I thought Captain America 170 or 169 was the earliest issue in my collection. It is not. It's king size Fantastic Four number 10. So I'm going to have to do a king size annual special edition Old Nerd Reads his Marvel Comics in Order episode where I go back and read this one and just kind of insert it into the series randomly. So this will be coming up soon too. Maybe next. I don't know. We'll see. Got a lot of reading to do. Anyway, this one is in rough shape. It's too bad because I love this cover. This one's rough. It's got some tears. Pages are pretty yellowed. Flimsy because it's, wearing out. But great little story, little side quest basically from the main series because it was supposed to be a giant size story. Important because Invisible Girl rejoins the Fantastic Four after years of absence. Medusa returns to the Inhumans after being away from there for so long. So important for that, if nothing else. And that's it for this time. If you have any tidbits about this storyline or anything I talked about in this video, please comment down below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.